Welcome to a session of the Lincoln Commission on Human Rights show. Welcome to our audience. We have been off the air for such a long time that we're excited to start or end the year and start the year with our wonderful guest from Aging Partners, Randy. Am I right?
Yes.
Oh, I know. I did that quick, didn't I?
Thanks for inviting me.
We are so excited to have you with us today, Randy, especially because Aging Partners has gone through some changes.
We have.
And it is exciting, your new place that you have. And I think it's important for our audience to know what Aging Partners is doing, where are you located now, and some of the services that you provide.
Sure.
And so I always learn something new when I've seen you. And so I'm here to learn from you.
Awesome.
So please introduce yourself to our audience today.
Sure. My name is Randy Jones. I'm the Director of Aging Partners. We are a department of the City of Lincoln. And we've made some major changes this year. We moved our downtown office at 10th and O, and we moved that out to the old VA hospital building at 70th and O Street. And the move was took a lot of work.
Yes.
But we're finally there.
Absolutely.
And the community is really responding. We've seen a big increase in attendance out there.
That's awesome, because you were previously located downtown, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And I know that it was a beautiful space, but I think one of the challenges was your parking.
Yeah, I mean, when we definitely there were a lot of issues that were keeping people away from the building. Parking downtown was one.
Yes.
But the other is just accessibility to the building.
Absolutely.
We noticed in the wintertime the streets would be plowed, but there would be a height of snow like this tall.
Yes.
And so some of our volunteers and staff that have mobility challenges would have to ride their wheelchairs all the way down to the corner of the street to get into the sidewalk, and that's unacceptable. So we're really happy about the accessibility. You can enter into Victory Park without opening any stairs, without climbing any stairs, and also it's a free door to where you don't have to manually open the door. So it's very accessible.
Wonderful. So I have been at the VA hospital before it became Aging Partners, and you're absolutely right. I like the scenery. I like the way you enter into that particular building, but more than anything, I'm excited that people now are able to access Aging Partners better than what they were able to do that in downtown. Tell us a little bit about services. I know you have several programs, but please describe some of the services.
Sure. So the more popular program at all of our senior centers, not just Victory Park, but also is dining. We provide a hot lunch meal for seniors.
Nice.
We provide that 5 days a week. In order to access that, they need to call us a couple days in advance to reserve a spot, because our dining rooms are usually full, which is good.
Yes.
And those meals are provided. We ask for a voluntary contribution, not directly, but I mean, we make it available, and we don't care or see if somebody contributes. So the meal's there for anyone that needs it, who's over 60 years old.
Wow.
One of the more popular programs with our move has been our health and fitness area, which has some new fitness equipment. The concept is, if we can prevent seniors from falling, and help them strengthen their bodies, then they're going to be living a much more healthy life in their later years and reduce the chance of hurting themselves with falls.
That sounds awesome. So as far as the dining goes, is there like a schedule of the meals of what is going to be served, and what happens with people who have dietary restrictions?
Well, we've looked at that, and the challenge with dietary restrictions, there's a lot of dietary restrictions, and so we are not able to provide them based on somebody's individual preference. But we do produce a monthly menu. You can pick up a menu from one of our locations. We also have the menu printed in the newspaper, and so you can see what's being served and kind of self-assess whether that's going to meet your needs or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what if I wanted to just visit
Oh, come
the
on
dining.
over.
I mean, I'm not quite there at 60, but I think it's important that those of us who have especially elderly parents to know what the facility looks like.
Oh, yeah.
So it sounds like you welcome just people who want to come in and take a quick little tour of the place.
Oh, absolutely. I think there's a certain vision that people have about a senior center, and this is quite different. This looks like a regular commercial dining room. It's very nicely set up. We plate the food and serve the food. We have entertainment that's brought in. We have flowers at the tables. It's a very enjoyable site, and we have a nice relaxing lounge with a fireplace and the newspaper and coffee. Very inviting.
I think I want to go visit.
Well, come on over.
That sounds wonderful. So thank you for describing the dining area. It sounds wonderful. Please describe your fitness center. That really intrigues me because I think, as you said, one of the highest risks with seniors is the falling.
Right. We have equipment that is specially designed for seniors' use. It's very low impact. We have cardio equipment that helps with that. We have many what are called new steps, which is you can sit and exercise at the same time. I love it.
Okay.
But we also have strength equipment, and when you think of strength in a gym, you think of these hard bodies and bulky young folks, but those aren't present here. These the machines that we have purchased are pneumatic, which means that they're air operated. Okay. And with a fine touch of your thumb, you can adjust the pressure within the machine and the resistance. So for a senior, it's very easily managed, and they can minutely change the pressure. And the other great thing that I like is no one can see you how much pressure you're dealing with. So I can look like I'm really struggling and pushing a lot of weight, and I'm really not. So,
yeah, that's a plus. Nobody really knows.
It has been real popular, and that was previously also downtown across from the city-county building.
I wasn't aware of that. That is great. That's exciting to know that that's available to seniors. Do people have to sign up prior to going into that, to doing exercise?
We do have a registration. There is no reservation required. You can just come in, look at the place. If you decide that you want to exercise in the future, you can go and fill out a registration form. We ask a voluntary contribution on our health and fitness center for $10 a month for people that are over 60. But it's voluntary. And I did mention on dining, our dining voluntary contribution is $4.
That sounds very affordable, right?
Yes.
But what if somebody wanted to donate to aging partners, so seniors who cannot afford going into the dining services? Do you have that?
Yeah, we always accept contributions, and we have some people that do contribute for that purpose. But again, anybody who walks in the door can certainly take advantage of our services without paying. That's one of the advantages of the federal funding that we receive.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
That is awesome. What other services do you have? Like, one of the services that I heard about was your podiatry.
We have a foot clinic.
A foot clinic, okay.
This is a partnership with UNMC student nurses, and the nurses come in once a week and they do health assessments on feet. You can tell a lot about a senior's health by looking at their feet, looking at possible swelling. They trim the toenails, because toenails can cut the skin if they're not trimmed, and that can be dangerous for a diabetic.
Right.
But we also at the same time do a health assessment with blood pressure screenings, cholesterol screenings, and things like that. That program is in real high demand, and I think right now there's about a 2-month waiting list. So you need to call and get on the list, and so that we can see you. And the voluntary contribution on that program is $20.
$20. And that's not bad. I mean, if you go just to a podiatrist, I mean, you still have to pay something, right?
Yeah.
But it sounds like not only do your feet get looked at, you also get your blood pressure.
Some health assessment, right.
Health assessment. That sounds great.
And these aren't professional podiatrists by any means. They're student nurses with the UNMC. But it does a great service, because many of us can't trim our nails.
No,
toenails.
we cannot.
So.
So you've described what your new center is. Tell us a little bit about what other centers you have throughout the city, because I imagine that in order to have accessibility, there would be other places seniors can go to.
Yeah, we really think that our continued presence in the neighborhoods is really important. And so we have a senior center in the Belmont Rec Center. We share that space with Parks and Recreation.
Nice.
We're in our Northeast Center in Havelock is behind the IGA in Havelock, and that's also there.
Okay.
We also just recently moved into Grace Lutheran Church in the near south. It's a beautiful location, big open room, gymnasium. They have a lot of great programming, and that's on Washington Street.
Washington
Yeah.
Street.
So we're really dedicated to those. We're also really dedicated to some of our centers or the services we support that are offered in some of the cultural centers. So there's a very robust program in the Asian Community Center. And they serve multi-cultures there from that site. They're also serving some Eastern Europeans that are coming into the community. So we've had a partnership with them for many years. Most of their programming is not focused on dining, but other things like exercise programs and entertainment and gathering. And then we're just starting to form a new relationship with El Centro de las Americas. And that's just beginning. They have a new seniors group that's starting to meet. And we're talking about programming that can be brought in there so that we can develop a new relationship with El Centro.
Absolutely, and it is important. I think sometimes in our community we are so diverse in the amount of languages that we have here in Lincoln. But it's nice as a senior to be able to go where you can relate. Not that because you don't want to meet other people, but I think sometimes it's being afraid of not understanding. So if you have somebody who speaks your language or kind of understands your culture, that really helps. So that's great that now you have El Centro de las Americas and the Asian Center. What kind of activities does, for example, in the Asian Center that's already been established, what kind of activities do they do?
Well, a lot of socialization. And that's great. Socialization is very important. We learned this during the COVID where a lot of folks stayed within their homes. And the socialization really helps the mind, it helps decrease depression, and it really does have a health impact. So a lot of their activities are related to socialization. They do some exercise classes. Oftentimes they'll bring, during certain times of the year, they'll bring in fruits and vegetables to share with each other and exchange, things like that.
Absolutely. That sounds great. Aside from the programming that you have, especially in the culture centers, what do you see Aging Partners doing in the future? With Lincoln growing as fast as it is, I mean, the need is very high. And, you know, in my personal belief, I think we need to take care of our older population because as a country, we are getting older.
Absolutely.
But what are some of those goals that Aging Partners has?
Well, when you look at the demographics for Lincoln, we're certainly going to be becoming more and more diverse, and so diverse programming is very important to our future. But also the number of people that are over the age of 60 is dramatically increasing. And so it's going to be difficult to keep up with that growth. What we're going to need to do is find new ways of helping that population. You know, one way is to help educate families on how to care for their loved ones in their home. And not everyone's prepared to do that, but like in our home, our personal home, we have my in-laws living with us, and one is living with dementia. And, you know, nobody gives you an instruction manual on how to do this. And so we're going to be launching in the next couple months a new web-based training program for caregivers where they can get online and they can see in certain circumstances how to care for that loved one. So the more we can empower families to take care of loved ones, that's the best. We also have programs that help manage care and help keep people living within their own homes. And so we have probably 35 care managers and service coordinators who work with individuals on their own. And most of these are very low income and most of them can't afford to go into a nursing home.
Right.
But we're able to work with some of the benefit programs they're eligible for to bring services into their home to care for them.
Wow, that's exciting. I know that like you said, in our home, my grandparents, they were both from Mexico, and they were in their home. They were very much independent in their home, but as a family, we did take turns, and we always knew that they weren't going to end up in a nursing home.
Sure.
So when my grandfather passed away, it was our responsibility to make sure that our grandmother, who did not speak English other than hello and give me coffee, was taken care of. And at some point, she was attending Aging Partner Center downtown, as a matter of fact, and that was her highlight. It was her highlight to see other individuals and learning a little bit of more English and the socialization.
Yeah.
And so I want to be supportive of that, because whether now I have my parents who are getting older. So it's exciting to hear that Aging Partners is trying not only to bridge, those and that gap with our cultural and our diverse community, but also how are you going to make the services better in the future for our older generation. So that is awesome that you're doing that. How can we as a community be more supportive, or do you have volunteers that come in and can help a little bit more?
We do have a program that's called Neighbor Link. And Neighbor Link links volunteers who are interested in helping people in the community who are seniors with them as a partnership. Kind of like it's a partnership that's developed, and they decide what kind of partnership is necessary. So for example, during COVID, we had volunteers that were going to the library to collect library books for those seniors. Some of them brought flowers to the seniors. Others, our mayor participated. She had a senior partner, and she would call that partner once a month, and they would talk and chat and just kind of do a check-in. So there's all kind of ways that these partnerships can develop. And so that's our volunteer program that we have at Aging Partners.
Was that your grandparent program before, or was that something completely different?
That was different from the foster grandparent program.
Okay.
That program now is operated by Community Action Partnership.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, very well. If I wanted to go in and take my elderly parent in there into the Aging Partners on 70th, where would I start? Do I need to make an appointment? Do I show up?
Well, it really depends, and I think it depends on what services you're looking for. You're more than welcome to stop in anytime that we're open to take a brief tour and look around and see what your comfort level is. But I would suggest people call in advance if you're looking to receive a certain service. We want to make sure that you're coming at a time when the service is provided, or that you understand maybe whether an appointment needs to be made. So I would encourage calling too. And we have a very diverse population in Lincoln, and it's also very diverse in terms of language. And that doesn't stop us from serving people. We utilize interpreters mostly, and that's because many of the languages have so many different dialects. It's hard to hire enough staff to cover that.
Yes.
But we're frequent users of interpreters, particularly in our case services where we go into homes.
Very good. So this is where also your partnership with like the Asian Center, El Centro, come in hand.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
That is great. What does the Aging Partners, as far as like, we talked about services, we've talked about where you at. What about educating our younger viewers? I think sometimes we get so caught up in how are we serving our older population, but there's something to be said about educating those of us that are younger on how to continuously be on the lookout for our older population. Do you have anything in place right now at Aging Partners for that, aside from the
We don't.
volunteers?
I mean, that's an excellent point, and I wish we had the resources to devote to that. That's called multi-generational activities, and we do a limited number of those. We We've partnered with high schools and brought high school seniors in to play cards with our seniors in the senior center. We've had other reading programs where the seniors will read books to elementary children. But those are not real frequent. They occur from time to time. That would be one of the dreams, is to develop a richer multi-generational programming.
And it's going to show more and more as time goes by, that multi-generational community. And as like you said, with not only with languages, but then also, again, with the population getting older.
Absolutely, yeah.
If you wanted people to think of Aging Partners, how would you describe it so we could say, oh yeah, I'm thinking of Aging Partners? What would you say about that?
I would say, think of us as being your link to being able to live independently in your home, in the way that you wish, and to be able to love the life you live.
That is very true. I so appreciate you in describing what services Aging Partners has. I think it's important that we all know what services you do have, as you've described today. And I think some of us need to take the time to go out there and really look around, because it is a beautiful space. Like I said, I like driving. I've been at the VA hospital before it was Aging Partners, and it looks like you have room to grow in the future. So I'm excited that you took the time to be here with us, and I appreciate that very much.
Thanks for the invitation.
Well, thank you. And with that, we conclude our Lincoln Commission on Human Rights show, and remember, we all have rights.